Hi, I'm Maggie, and for my cyber chat, I will be discussing hardware security and more specifically the Spectre and Meltdown hardware vulnerabilities. As a quick introduction, hardware security is the branch of cybersecurity that involves the circuits on chips and printed circuit boards, or PCBs for short, while software refers to the set of instructions to perform a computational task, such as performing an internet search or sending an email. Hardware refers to the circuits on the chip in the device that actually do the work to perform the task. Malicious hardware can be planted in any stage from designing the chip to manufacturing the chip at the foundry. And because these attacks are often designed to be triggered by a specific event, it can be challenging to detect them right off the bat. Malicious hardware can cause a device to stop functioning, function improperly, or even maintain the appearance of normal operation while malicious actions are actually being quietly performed in the background. Attacks can also exploit a combination of malicious software and hardware. Malicious hardware hidden on a chip could open a backdoor to allow the installation of malicious software, which will then launch the attack. According to NIST, exponential growth in hardware vulnerabilities in the last few years have rapidly caught up to the growth seen in software over the last decades. So in January 2018, the Spectre and Meltdown vulnerabilities were publicly disclosed, and this prompted widespread concern among security professionals. This duo of security vulnerabilities make it possible to steal passwords and sensitive data from nearly any computer as well as mobile devices that use processors dating back to 1995. Spectre is named after its root cause, speculative execution, which is an optimization technique where a computer performs some task before it is known whether it is actually needed, so that if the task is needed, a delay is prevented, and if it isn't needed, then the results are simply thrown away. The problem with this is that this thrown away data ends up in an unsecured shared part of memory, where unauthorized users can access it through a side channel. Spectre works by tricking computers into loading any data, like passwords and account information, into shared memory so that it can be stolen. Meltdown was given its name due to the fact that it melts security boundaries, which are normally enforced by the hardware, namely breaking the fundamental isolation between user applications and the operating system. As a result, it makes it possible for an application to access system memory. There are currently 13 variants of Spectre and 14 variants of Meltdown that have been identified. These variants depend on specific silicon level functionality of the chip, which means some processors are vulnerable to more variants than others, depending on manufacturer, like Intel versus AMD, and architecture, like x86 versus ARM. So who is affected by these vulnerabilities? On the right side of this slide is a screenshot I took from the Q&A page of the Meltdown and Spectre website, which has a lot of specific information about the two vulnerabilities, including papers that were published for them when they were discovered, and a list of guidance from vendors like Amazon and Microsoft, as well as hardware manufacturers like Apple, Dell, and Lenovo. Spectre and Meltdown work on computers, mobile devices, and in the cloud. They have been verified on Intel, AMD, and ARM processors. So the best way to protect against these hardware vulnerabilities is to make sure that your operating system is up to date and that you have installed the latest available patches for your system. Although these patches are still considered a work in progress, especially with regards to specific variants, for now they are the most effective strategy we have to protect against Spectre and Meltdown.